Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is going to give us the secrets of the ultra-wealthy for passive income investment. He is known as the Wealth Defender. Please help me welcome Darryl Bandoro.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. So for a moment, let me just take you somewhere. So if you can just imagine in your head, you're on a beautiful beach. There's white coral sand, aquamarine water. There's a warm breeze coming off the ocean, hitting you in the face. It's wonderful. You have a drink in your hand, and your sweetheart is walking over. She has a little pina colada with some umbrellas, and she says, "Honey, let's go jump in the water." And you say, "I'd love to, but I just have to check on my stock portfolio because I'm not sure what's going on right now. I heard something was going on." See, that's what people who aren't feeling secure about their investments, that's what they do. They can't really enjoy and take advantage of the good things in life because they're constantly worried about what's going on with their investments. They can't retire and in peace. And so what I do is I teach some of my clients how to use the secrets of the ultra-rich, the strategies that the ultra-rich use to be able to diversify their portfolio, reduce their risk, and enjoy that good life. Because one thing you know for sure is that ultra-rich, high net worth person isn't sitting on the beach and checking their stocks every day. They're just enjoying their life. So my focus typically ends up being with business owners and professionals who want to protect and diversify their growing wealth. I'm going to take you through a little bit of what I've been through myself to get to the experience level that I'm at, where I can actually impart this information and help my clients out. And I think you might recognize little bits of yourself in there if you're paying attention and if you have been invested. And then I'm going to tell you a few, maybe just 3 secrets of the ultra wealthy, and then how I worked with a client specifically to implement those secrets so that he could live the good life. So let's go back again to the year 2000. About 18 years ago, I was a young man out of university, and I got my first job at a major bank and as a broker, and I was trading stocks and bonds, and it was an exciting time because we didn't know it yet, but we were in the middle of a tech bubble. It was the late 90s, early 2000s. Everybody was doing great with technology, .com this and that, and then it all kind of crashed. The bubble burst at the top, and it was exciting on the trading floor, but a lot of people lost a lot of money. But even more memorable than that is that unfortunate, fateful day on 9/11. I was sitting in my trading desk chatting with colleagues, and suddenly all the numbers on our screen went red. And we went, what's going on? Well, to leave a long story short, we looked up at the screen, we saw what happened, and then we started getting phone calls like crazy. And the markets dropped 5, 10, 15% over the next few days. People were calling in panic, saying, what's going on with my life savings? Obviously, there was emotional trauma to deal with the event, and then there was the emotional trauma of having to deal with your stock market just collapsing and your portfolio doing the same thing. So I went to my manager and I said, what's going on here? Like, how do we deal with this? How do we talk to our clients and try to protect them? He said, well, the market goes up, the market goes down, so you just keep investing, and in the end, you'll do okay. I thought, no, that's not a good enough answer for me. There's got to be more to it. So I started doing some research. Obviously, there's a wealth of information out there, sometimes almost a little too much. But one thing you do find if you do look out there is that an interesting statistic, which is 90% of the millionaires in existence today made their money through real estate, right? So, real estate, that's the place to be then. So I changed my career slightly. I went into the real estate sector. I was helping many investors buy and sell some real estate, helping on the mortgage side for myself for a while. Also created a company where I was directly helping investors buy and sell. So I've been involved in dozens of real estate transactions. And being a real estate investor is good. My first few years were fantastic, great buys. My very first place, I bought it for $50,000, and 2 years later sold it for $150,000, paid off all my student loans. It was fantastic. But the problem with real estate is it's also a lot of work. You can be your full-time job if that's what you're doing, but if you have a job, if you have a career, if you have a business, and you're doing this on the side, well, then it's a small part-time job, but it's still a job, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that. I remember after I made the mental decision that I was going to start winding down my portfolio, I had to deal with one property. It was the worst. I had gone to the landlord and tenant board 6-7 times just to try to get the tenants to either pay me or get out. When I finally did get them kicked out, the place was a disaster. I won't go into all the details, but it involved cat feces. So it was just sucked up so much time, so much money, and so much stress. And that's part of being a landlord. You have to fix some toilets, you have to deal with some tenants. There's some good, but there's also some not so great. And that's when I went on a mission and said, okay, look, I had to deal with these properties. I had to deal with the stock market. But if you take a look at the large institutional funds, the Yale and Harvard endowment funds, or the big pension companies, or if you take a look at some family offices or the really, really wealthy, they're not really worrying about the stock market, and they're certainly not cleaning up messes in properties. So what are they doing? And I spent 5 years of my life looking and examining different strategies, and I'm very happy that at this point I can tell you 3 of the secrets of the ultra-rich. So, secret number 1, and this one, you might have heard it before. Don't lose money. Rule number 1, don't lose money. Warren Buffett, Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. So that's, that's not terribly original, but what you have to think about here is that if you're ultra wealthy, you're trying to make good money and progress, but you're also very concerned you don't want to lose your money. You don't want to go below that status level. And I think sometimes people who are building their portfolio, they're like, well, I just got to gamble. That's just part of investing. That's the only way I'm going to get up there. And that's just not true. There are strategies you can take so that you're reducing your risk and you're still making a decent return, getting to that space of freedom and safety at the same time. So rule number 2 is they work with passive private investments. So what does that really mean? Well, in a stock market, you invest into companies, it trades on the stock exchange, it can go up and down. But you can also invest in private companies. They're not on the stock exchange. Some of them are smaller, but they can be larger as well. And you can also invest into real estate projects without being directly involved in the management. You're working with a team of managers who've been doing this for 5, 10, 15 years. They understand a specific strategy, and you're just saying, I have some money, I'm going to invest in you, and then you're going to give me a percentage of the profits. So this is, again, a private transaction, and it's a growing business. There are billions and billions of dollars invested privately, but the average investor simply doesn't know about it. They don't have access to this world. You used to have to be millionaire with the right lawyers and the accountants, and they'll be like, hey, we got a deal for you today. This such and such development is going on, and you can get access to it, put a few $1,000,000 in there, and you'll do really well. So what's great is that over the years, this has become more publicly available. And now people who aren't ultra rich can get in. There's still some barriers to entry, but we can chat about what those are and if you can qualify. And lastly, the third secret of the ultra rich is working with the professionals who can give you that access and who know what you're doing. I work again with mostly business owners and professionals, and there are advisors on the tax and accounting, on the financial side for people who have jobs, and there are advisors for people who are business professionals and business owners, and they need a different level of advice and a different skill set. And what happens is when you're working with business owners that are successful at the time, you get all kinds of connections, and that's what I love to do, is to start connecting people together. And when you do that, you also have access to their network and then to new opportunities. So let me give you a bit of an example. So one of my existing clients called me up one day and said, hey, you need to talk to Bob. So I picked up the phone and Bob said, Darryl, here's my situation. For the last 30 years, I built a heating and cooling business, went from 0 to 15 employees. Life is good, but it's time to retire. I'm going to sell my business. And I also have 2 fourplexes. Really nice part of town, but my wife and I have constantly been working on them. There's always something to do, new tenants to find, the occasional headache. I'm going to start retiring. I want to start enjoying the fruits of my labor. I need to put the money that I'm getting from the sale of my business to work for me, and I'm going to start maybe selling some of these properties so I don't have to worry about that at all. So we sat down, we put together a business plan with regards to his retirement. We said, okay, you can invest in a variety of different private companies. You can invest in some real estate. He has everything from a long-term care facility for seniors to a condo development in downtown Toronto, to some office and retail complexes in Florida and Arizona. So we have a wide variety of things, and there's some things that are not related to real estate as well at all. But what all these things have in common is that they're producing nice, stable yields for him. He's getting a check every month, and it's giving him an overall rate of return of 8 to 10%. We're not hitting the ball out of the park. We're not doing home runs, but that's not what he needs. He just needs something that's going to be able to fund his retirement and that he doesn't have to worry about. So I just spoke to him the other day. We were in Canada, so we went to a Tim Hortons. We sat down. He said, I'm loving this. I have that one rental property left. I'm going to sell that one. We're just going to invest it. We're about to go to a trip to Europe with the wife, and we just don't have to worry about anything anymore. So he said, thanks. And I said, no problem. That's what I do. So yes, that is what I do. I can help business owners get access to that diversification that most people don't offer. I give them some of the secrets that the ultra wealthy are using so that they can just live their life the way they want it. So if you are a business owner who's grown to a certain size, you have some profits to reinvest, or maybe you're thinking about selling in the next 5 to 10 years and you need that plan, let's chat. Let's have a conversation, see if we are a good fit, and then we can see if there's an opportunity for us to work together. So hopefully you end up on the beach at beautiful blue water, as you remembered, and it's great and it's relaxing. And when your spouse or loved one comes by and says, hey, let's take a dip, you just put your drink down and you jump in the water. Thank you.